Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the 2025 season of the Rad Avenger League. And with that, the return of the Rad Avenger League weekly previews. I know there's been discussion, much discussion, and by that I mean one poll about what the weekly previews are going to look like this year. And I'm here to say they're not going to look like this every single week. I think there would be a good mix of like long form, what we do here when I have time, and short form, like one-off videos with each matchup, the wheel spins and all of that. So it's gonna be a lot of mix. I don't think there's gonna be a lot of consistency in what the videos look like, other than they will be there and they will be talking about the league, because I'd love to do that. And from what you've all said, you love to watch them and listen to them. It gives you something to do Thursday to get excited. So I want that to continue without feeling a bit like a chore, which they could be last year, which part of that could have been that I had the worst season in the history of the Rad Avenger League. So I don't think they're all going to look like this, and even today's I don't think is going to be as long as a lot of other ones. I actually have in fact I just got the reminder, I've got to be at a movie theater 30 minutes away in 45 minutes, so I'm not going to make the previews, but whatever. It's also the Roses, and I'm catching a double feature today, so like it's the one I'm least excited about. If I gotta cancel, I gotta cancel. Anyway, I'm gonna try to make it, but we'll talk about week one. I'll introduce the wheel, and we'll get a move on, man. I'm excited. I'm ready for the season to start. Ready to wash the stink of last season off. Let's just get right onto the wheel. Most of these you're gonna notice are the same as last year. Obviously a lot of them are self-explanatory. The two that I could see questions coming about, obviously the duos, no flexes are involved. Didn't feel the need to type that. That's what we did last year, and I'll explain that when they come up. The performers at the bottom, best overperformer, worst overperformer, those are points scored versus your projections, and we're gonna do it as a percentage, right? So if you're projected 80 and you score 100, great. That's a lot better than being projected, I don't know, 100 and scoring 120, right? Like that makes sense to me. If anybody has any qualms about that, sorry, those are the rules, and it's a dumb random game anyway. So we also got a new wheel this year. Perfect. Coming out of the gate hot, straightforward, highest scoring starter, the player in a starting lineup with the most points for week one. I think I actually have some predictions that people aren't gonna like. All right, anyway, whatever. Obviously there's no rankings to talk about because it's week one, so let's just get right into the games. I do have stats. I talked about them a little bit in Discord. It's just week one stats, and actually one of them I forgot to look up, but it wasn't that important. I was just gonna make up something so that Dawson could have a stat, since he doesn't have a week one that exists in the Rad Avenger League. So if anybody wants to tell me what the number one overall picks all-time record is in week one, feel free to reach out, because I forgot to look it up. Anyway, I'm just going to go right in order of what's on my screen, which is me versus Cameron. Now this is a big matchup for me in a lot of ways. Obviously they're all big, but two things: I've never beat Cameron. 0-4 I think is the record. Actually, I have to start just pulling up the League Legacy site while I'm here. Look at that. There's gonna be so much fucking information on these things. So if we go down here to versus, yeah, 0-4 all time, never beat him. Also 1-4 in opening weeks. I've only won the opening week one time. Now that year I did win the championship, and I don't know if you guys remember this, but that was the year that Tim lost because of the punt return touchdown where Josh Allen threw like I think 4 interceptions on Monday Night Football. So we kind of pulled it out of my ass to win that one, as is, and have never won another one. Now I am projected to win this one. Now luckily we get Lamar Jackson and Derrick Henry against just a tattered Bills defense. So that's nice. Cameron is 2-4 all time in opening weekend matchups. So it's not like his matchup is 2-5. It's not like his record is that much better. So really, stoppable force meets a movable object here in week one. Now the matchups he's got that scares me. I've talked about Dak Prescott and I've talked about CeeDee Lamb ad nauseum all summer, and I do think they're going to be just a relentless duo. Now they get the task of Philadelphia in week 1. Coming, you're coming off a Super Bowl, you could talk about the hangover, but they do have a pretty brutal matchup in that first week. Now Jonathan Taylor against the Dolphins, soft ass, does scare me a little bit. But the big thing here is Christian McCaffrey is healthy in week 1. Derrick Henry's healthy in week 1. Mike Evans is healthy in week 1. Is that going to be the case all season? No. We'll see. Hopefully, if it is, I think I'm in for a whirlwind of a season. I think it's going to be great. If not, it's going to be brutal. But Dak Prescott and CeeDee Lamb getting the inauspicious start against the Eagles, I think is going to be really tough. Now, coincidentally, I mean, I guess not coincidentally, but like, having said that, they're going to be down. I mean, they're going to be down most of the game. They're going to have to throw the ball. But that's a matchup I love to see in week 1. I would be terrified of the Dak CD stack going forward. And I'll probably talk about it a lot through these videos throughout the year. But a pretty lucky draw there, getting one of the better defenses in the league. And then you got your Breece Hall, who can be an electric factory. He's got a tough matchup in Pittsburgh, not the best run defense in the world, but a pretty good defense overall. And I think they're going to be keyed in on the run because you're just going to beg Justin Fields to throw the ball. Now the website here has it projected as an 11-point victory for me, 117 to 106. So I do think I got a little bit lucky in week 1, and as we've seen in the years past, I win week 1, probably win it at all. So don't let me get hot. All right, and we'll go on over to the newcomer versus the old newcomer, Clay versus Andrew. I guess not newcomer, he's the return comer versus the old newcomer. Now, obviously, Andrew, coming off of his second championship in 3 years with the league, his record in week 1, 2-1. You would line that up perfectly with what his performance has been. Clay, all time, 6-2 in week 1. So 2 guys that like to come out of the gate hot. I did not see if Andrew's 2 wins coordinate with his championship. If so, that would be really interesting. If the last 3 championship winners happen to have won week 1. Only there was a really quick and easy way for me to look that up. But nevertheless, actually, I'm going to do that right now live. I know this is everybody's favorite part, when I get an idea and then just start going to fucking look at it. All right, so 2024 week 1, Andrew lost. All right, good. Debunked immediately. So there you go. All right. Now, Andrew has had a bit of a tumultuous couple weeks since the draft. Joe Mixon is officially gone on the PUP list. Won't be available till week 4. Some reports saying it could be a lot longer than that. Rashee Rice finally got his suspension. He's out 6 weeks. Tajay Spears went on IR, so he's missing at least 4 weeks. And I think they said it's going to be right at 4 weeks, but he'll still be in a ramp-up period after then. None of his starters got dinged up, but a lot of the depth on his bench, a lot of guys that he thought could be contributors going forward, getting banged up. Now, Brandon Ayuk was drafted by Clay with the idea of going on the IR, so no harm, no foul there. Although he did use a draft pick on it. So, but Josh Allen against the Baltimore defense, I love the Bills. I think they're going to be one of the top 3 or 4 teams in the NFL this year. I don't see them matching up well with the Ravens in the regular season. They got ran on all day last year. It was actually so bad that I deleted the fantasy app off my phone at one point. So Josh Allen's Josh Allen. He's going to do Josh Allen things. I don't expect a vintage like 45-point performance out of him this week, but enough to get you by. When you look at the quarterback matchups here, it's 2 elite guys with Josh Allen and Jaden Daniels. Now, Jaden Daniels obviously with a much more favorable matchup, playing a weak Giants team. I think their defense is going to be pretty solid this year, but could look at a situation where they get up early, they get up big early, and then end up just running the ball with Austin Eckler or whoever the hell they're going to have in the backfield. And just kind of looking through a couple of these other matchups here, Jacobs against Detroit, that's a real tough ask. You like the Packers run scheme a lot, or I do anyway. And then Gibbs on the flip side against Green Bay. Now, all that's been said about the Micah Parsons trade, and I think that it will be better for the team overall. But obviously, the run defense did take a hit with Kenny Clark getting shipped off to Dallas. So if there's a place where Detroit's going to be able to exploit the Packers, it's running inside. It's running away from Micah Parsons. Which you might think maybe more of a David Montgomery game, but Gibbs can go between the tackles as well, and obviously he's one of, if not the most explosive player in the National Football League. Nothing else is really popping off the page here to me. You got Malik Neighbors against Washington with a kind of a revamped secondary, revamped defense. We'll kind of see how they go, and obviously we're getting our first good look at Russ. Say what you want about Russ, he's better than any quarterback Malik Neighbors had last year. So and Malik Neighbors was producing. So you really don't have any fear there. Puka's probably going to get the Derek Stingley treatment in Houston for Andrew. Now the website has this as a 112-109, one of the closer matchups here in favor of Clay. It's gonna be really close. I think you just have more names that you trust on Clay's side. We'll get our first look at Gint. He's got a good matchup. Jacobs is going to be solid. Josh Allen is going to do Josh Allen stuff. So I think you like the consistency over there. I do think Andrew has potential to put up a big week, but he's going to be a little bit boom or bust this week. So not saying he can't win by any stretch of the imagination. It's going to be close, but I think if I'm walking to the window 7 times, 10 times, I'm putting money on Clay, 7 of them. So I'll take Clay in this one, but I'm not really going to be shocked either way. Moving on to Wade versus Charlie, and this is where people are not going to like my highest scoring starter pick. I love AJ Brown this week. We talk about him a lot, dude. First off, I think the Eagles are gonna fucking shellac the Cowboys. I don't think it's gonna be all that close. I think it could get embarrassing quick. And you would say, Chandler, well, that means they should run the ball more. No, not in this rare situation where they kind of need to get the passing game going. They really need to take some of the reps off of Saquon that he got last year. And I think AJ Brown is just gonna fucking sun Trayvon Diggs for 4 hours. So yeah, my early bet would be AJ Brown is your highest scoring starter this week. Thursday night in prime time, just lighting it the fuck up. Now getting into the rest of the team here, we kind of go back to consistency versus ceiling. I look at Wade's team and I see consistency, right? Chase Brown, Achane is a little bit, he's kind of a touch machine. London, McConkey, Kittle, Tet is an unknown, but Bo Nix, like these are guys that are just going to get 10 to 15 points or 20 in the Bo Nix's case. And then I look over at Charlie's team, and there's going to be some weeks where he puts up some fucking stinkers. There's going to be some weeks where Tony Pollard can't get it going, where Justin Jefferson's hamstrings bothering him, where AJ Brown is just stuck in a mud pit where they won't fucking throw him the ball, where Saquon's getting 45 carries. Aaron Jones is old. Kyler Murray, I don't even have to explain what's fucking wrong with him. So there's gonna be some weeks where I think Charlie is putting up some just absolute doo-doo. Like sub 80 scores. looking at the schedule, I don't think this is one of those weeks. I think there's gonna be a lot of weeks where he's approaching 130, 140 with consistency, and I think that's closer to what we're gonna see this week. You got Kyler Murray against New Orleans. You got Aaron Jones against the Bears, which is a little bit of a tough matchup. You got Kyron against Houston. Okay. AJ Brown against Dallas. I've already said my piece on him. Justin Jefferson is Justin Jefferson. Brock Bowers against the Patriots. Tony Pollard against the Broncos, who I think the Titans are going to come out with a very run heavy scheme, and the Broncos, their secondary is elite. Their run defense is average to above average, but as far as last year goes, we obviously haven't seen him play a game this year, so we don't really know. So I think we're gonna end up in a situation where Wade puts together a pretty solid week with Ladd against the Chiefs, Drake London against the Bucks, scoring in the 110s to 125 range. Just a very promising week that he can kind of hang his hat on going the rest of the season. His team's gonna be good, and he just gets Charlied. He just gets Charlied into oblivion. Which could either mean he wins by 30 or loses by 30. I don't know which one it's going to be. I do. I think it's going to be lose by 30. I think Charlie has the highest score this week. I think AJ Brown has the highest score. I think he gets the $10. I think he starts out hot. I think we're going to have to eat a lot of shit from Charlie to start the season off. I don't think it's going to go that way all year, but I think to start, that's what we're looking at. John trying to come back from his abysmal season. It actually wasn't even that bad. It was really just bad at the end of the year. Against Dawson, playing in his first ever fantasy football matchup, and projected to win. And I believe, if I look over here at the draft grades, I believe projected to win the whole damn thing. And honestly, I mean, I don't like, obviously fantasy is random. It's hard to predict a champion, but like, you look at this team, and I don't doubt you got Bijan, you got Brian Thomas. Obviously just both absolute studs. Baker Mayfield was what kind of came out of nowhere last year for the to be a very fantasy relevant and fantasy productive quarterback. James Conner is just the pinnacle of consistency. Trey McBride, you know, one of the top tight ends. He's got potential all over the board, and even Tyreek Hill. I'm not a Tyreek Hill believer. I've on record, I think he's washed. I think he's done. I think last year was more of a showing that his career is over than it was, you know, like a regression, you know, injury problems. But I mean, we've seen me be wrong a lot, and it's Tyreek Hill. If you get Tyreek Hill, vintage Tyreek Hill, you're getting a wide receiver one to pair with your wide receiver one, and, you know, possibly the best running back in football right now in Bijan Robinson. So there's a whole lot of potential there. And really, the floor is high too. I think that's what's really scary, is like, even if all these guys are playing at their floor outside of Tyreek's floor is like 2 points at this point. All these guys' floor is like 10 points, man. They're all gonna be solid at worst. Now John's taking a lot of he is going more of the boomer bust approach. You got Patrick Mahomes, which he's on record of being a top 5 quarterback this year, in a divisional matchup that he historically dominates. He reached real far in the first round and took Bucky Irving, which, like, honestly, he's right. He wasn't coming back to him. So, you know, I mean, it is a reach. You're not getting around that, but for what it was, and knowing you're probably going to take Hampton and you have Nico Collins locked in the 3rd round, I don't hate the move. You know, obviously Bucky is not quite as proven as some of the other guys, but his ceiling is right there, and everybody's expecting massive production out of him this year. Same with Marion Hampton. We haven't seen him play a snap in the NFL, but he's in a very run friendly scheme. John's problem, and I think we run into this a lot, is he's got a lot of young guys, and I think by week 6-7 they're gonna be humming, right? Like, you're gonna have a stretch where John's putting up 140, 150, you know, winning games consistently. It's gonna take him a minute though. You're gonna need and you just hope in that time that Patrick Mahomes, Nico Collins, and Travis Kelce are enough to kind of get you over that hump. And I think eventually they will, and I think he'll you know, I don't see him coming out like 0-5 and then going on a run. But I do think he's kind of running into a little bit of an early season buzzsaw in what is going to be Dawson's team. You know, Dawson's team is beatable for sure. You know, you can have a good week. You could have, even this week, I mean, all your rookies could pop off and you could look great. I just think the consistency, what you're going to get out of Dawson's team, combined with some of the ceilings these guys have, is going to be tough. I am going to go with Dawson to win week 1. John, I don't think I read off these stats, and I also don't think I read off Wade's. John, historically, is 6-7 all time in week 1. Now, there was a stretch where he won 5 in a row before losing last year to Ashley, which I forgot. And I didn't even mention my favorite stat. Now, Wade all time in week 1 is 5-4. Charlie's never lost a week 1 game. Charlie's 5-0. He's been in the league 5 years, has won week 1 5 times. So would love for that to I think it's going to continue. I mean, Charlie's an enigma, man. And then to round things out, we've got Hurts Winter Brown versus Big Dumpers. We got the Doo-Doo Bowl, Timmy versus Raleigh. Now, I talked about the Eagles shellacking the Cowboys, and obviously we have all the Eagles. Now, I think Jalen Hurts has a big game. I think they come out and they throw the ball. I don't think Saquon is getting like the, you know, week 1 last year where you had 3 touchdowns, and one of them was through the air and it was fucking sick. But I don't think they're out to prove a point with Saquon as much as they were last year, right? At this point, he's got all the carries from last year. Obviously they're hoping to repeat as Super Bowl champions. And I'm not even saying that this is going to be a consistent problem across the board, but I do think they come out kind of with an emphasis on the passing game, establishing the connection between Jalen Hurts and AJ Brown and Devontae Smith, making sure they have that available so that they're not putting all the pressure on Saquon this year. So I do think this game, Saquon takes a little bit of a backseat in the game plan. Eventually, the Cowboys fucking suck. So I'm not saying Saquon won't get his, but I think the emphasis is going to be Jalen Hurts and the receiving core, which obviously Tim's got his bases covered here. Yeah, I think that'll be fine. If you can get 15 out of Saquon and Jalen Hurts can pop off, that's a fucking nice week. Where I do think he's going to struggle a little bit is with James Cook against the Baltimore defense. If the Bills are going to win that game at all, it's going to be superhero Josh Allen. So, you know, in James Cook, you look back to last year, and I dealt with this a lot. James Cook is very he's not quite as bad as what Jamal Williams was back in that run where he was setting the touchdown record, but he kind of played the same way. It's like you need a touchdown really to make him productive. I think he had like 2 or 3 games where he could win you on yardage, but mostly it was like, I need you to get in the end zone, dude. Obviously the trade this morning went down. DK Metcalf now on the team. I'm not a DK Metcalf believer. Some people are. You know, if I'm looking at this objectively, I kind of fall right in the middle where, yeah, he could be great. I don't like, he wasn't great with prime Russell Wilson. I don't think he's going to be good with like 42-year-old Aaron Rodgers. You know what I mean? And now on the other side, you've got Raleigh went out with a trade of his own and established the Joe Burrow, Jamar Chase stack, which I think is going to be dominant throughout the year. I think there's going to be many weeks where that alone will win him the game. Now this week he plays the Browns in division, historically like a little bit of a tough defensive matchup. There's a chance with Joe Flacco that shit just gets out of hand and we're looking at like a 54-49 game. But if you look at the history of the AFC North and the history of these two teams specifically, I don't foresee that being the case. And then you look, he's got some young guys too. You got TJ. Oh no, sorry, I was looking at Travion Henderson and said TJ Hawkinson, not a young guy. Actually, kind of a young guy, younger than me, he's 28. Found that out last night. But really, Travion Henderson. He's going to be your big question mark here. Obviously, there's a lot of hype surrounding the rookie. Ramondre's kind of taking a step back, you would think. But we don't know that for sure. I mean, we could come out and Ramondre could get 60% of the snaps, and Travion could look, he could just look like hot shit. I love JSN as a receiver, just like as a football player. I don't necessarily love him in fantasy this year, just because I don't think Sam Darnold's going to be able to repeat away from Kevin O'Connell. But once again, I've been wrong. Now we got Devontae Smith too. I actually didn't even notice that. I love the Devontae Smith play. While I do think AJ Brown is going to be the highest scorer of the week, I mean Devontae is going to be he's going to be there to reap some of the benefits of what I think the Eagles come out and do this year, or at least this week. Website's got let me look at the week ones. I did all this fucking work. I'm not even fucking talking about it. Riley 6-7, Tim 7-6 all time. Congratulations, the 2 most average people in week 1 you've ever seen. Website has this as a 117-61. I think they win because of the Eagles. It's just going to be Jalen Hurts, Saquon Barkley. There's going to be weeks where that loses you the game. Maybe weeks where it wins it. I think right now with the matchup, Tim's stack looks a little bit better than Raleigh's stack. There's going to be weeks where that's not the case. Anyway, look at that. It's time to make the movie. Good luck this week. Once again, I wouldn't expect, a 20+ minute video every single week. Obviously, I think the days of the 45-minute videos are gone. Maybe I'll end up with a Tuesday off where I have nothing else to do and I can just yap for an hour, but I just think that's not realistic expectations I want to set anymore. So good luck this season. Good luck this week. And Charlie, congratulations on your $10.